Hello. Today, if you're joining us, it's a great day. If you want to learn more about buying and selling land, then this is the best time. Today, we have a guest who spent many years working with people to buy and sell land all over the country. And so, if that's something you want to learn about, this podcast is for you. But first, our unreal stat of the day. And this blew my mind. There are 1.9 billion acres of land in the United States, and 40% of those acres are completely vacant. So I want to introduce you to our guest. His name is Jamon Yerger. He's an expert in finding rural and vacant land, parcels that are often underutilized or people think they're no longer needed. He's an expert in finding them and buying them. Jamon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Kyle. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So let's just jump into it. Let's talk about that number. 1.9 billion acres, 40% of it is sort of vacant. And people, I think, often aren't even thinking, usually they go to buy or sell a home. They're not thinking about just land. Tell me about that market and why it excites you so much.
Well, there's lots of it. So that's great. And it's about 47% actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Still pretty close. That's a lot of land that's not being utilized. Now, within that stat, that also might include things like parking lots, warehouses, right? You know, like an Amazon warehouse is quite large, but people don't live in it.
Right.
But there's a lot of, and then within that stat is agricultural and desert lands, governmental use lands, and then residential and commercial as well. So it does expand the whole thing. So it's a huge number. And why I'm into land specifically, one, there's lots of it. And I think the market is more stable in land than housing and stuff. And I think that's become self-evident in the last, 2 years? The housing market is crazy at the moment. And the land has really just kind of been even.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. I mean, unless you're talking about places like I think Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where it's like the
That's
national
always been
parks.
$1 million.
Yeah, it's like $1 million an acre or something crazy just for the land.
I mean, just wild stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so let's talk about this. We often have a lot of clients that they're buying land either they have a dream, they want to build their dream home or something like that.
That's exactly it. Absolutely.
Or they're doing like commercial, like they want to build mobile home parks, which in the United States, from a zoning perspective, I understand could be a pain because people often, the NIMBYs, they don't want the mobile home park next to their, $1 million home or whatever. So tell me more about that. Like, what are you seeing in the market? Are most of your customers a consumer, or are they, investors trying to buy and build things for profit?
Well, I kind of go across the whole gamut. I have a certain section of my properties that are more tailored to just one consumer, just being one person with a dream, as you say. Investors that are looking to maybe do a multi-residential property on it, like apartments and stuff. And that all just comes down to different type of zonings and the properties that I have. So to answer your question towards the trailer parks, we find with the trailer parks is I'm having a lot more luck with that type of stuff more in the West, in California, San Bernardino County, Kern County areas where that type of need is being more like catered to because of growing property concerns and stuff. I just actually bought and sold a property that was right next to mobile home area, and then another 2.5 acres just right next to it. That's like a perfect candidate for an investment. And that's what this person did. So they just took it over. The water has been brought there, electrical, utilities, everything's there. And to get the proper zoning, being that one already exists there, is quite easy,
A little bit easier.
It's growing the opportunity, and also tax base.
Yeah, it's funny. I would assume that California, because the cost of property there is so insane. People think of like mobile homes as maybe one of the original of like starter homes or affordable homes. And it's interesting to me to hear that in California in particular, where the problem of pricing is so acute, that they've actually opened up a couple opportunities for mobile home parks there, it sounds like.
Well, it would be because, well, we're not talking like downtown San Bernardino or,
Yep.
Los Angeles. We're talking going past the mountain range, right?
Yep.
Los Angeles West, San Bernardino North, into the more desert areas and stuff, which is, there's lots of land out there, which is, I think a lot of people are really not aware of. Same thing with like New Mexico as well. You got Albuquerque, everything outside of Albuquerque is kind of very open to different type of zoning opportunities and what you can do. So, a lot of the properties out in those areas will be mobile home-esque, whether it's a modular, which would be, the two parts, could be on a concrete foundation. That all just is in reference to the local zoning codes. Does it need that? Versus, a more modern mobile home, which is kind of what you picture as the longer ones, right? That might not need a concrete base, but they still ask it to be, they call it permanent in nature. So you just can't just wheel it off. But then what's really interesting in some areas, like California City in Kern County, they're opening up opportunities of mini homes, which is really exciting for investment opportunities.
These are like the tiny homes?
Tiny homes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're opening up 3 special economic zones for that. And from there, they can do mini homes. They have different requirements. They can be, as small as 700 square, 500 square feet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really, really interesting stuff. And you just have to kind of search out to different areas and what they're looking for to expand their, city taxes and opportunities for the residents in the area.
That's awesome. So that reminds me, this idea of tiny homes. I have a couple friends that are in this space, and what they've been doing is going to areas like this and building out almost like small parks, but only putting them on Airbnb. So they're specifically like an Airbnb, almost like park or space, and they kind of cater to that market. Have you seen that? And if so, what does it look like in the past?
I have not seen it personally, me doing it or anything.
Yeah.
I know of it, and where that would be a property that they own outright and they subdivide it, right? Or the plot is already big enough and they bought off, let's just say, the different sections. So then they kind of control that area and they can do what they want with it. While if it's in an area with an HOA, or, maybe within certain city limits, they have different type of comments and regulations on, the Airbnb items. It all depends on what that area is. But I would say that opportunity is like finding a nice 5-acre plot, subdividing it if you can, if the local area allows you to subdivide down into, like, let's say 1 acre each. And then throw in tiny homes on it. So then it becomes, as you say, you make a little cul-de-sac for yourself, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, that's
and
what
they
I've
can
seen.
just kind of choose, like cabin-esque, right?
Yeah, the ones I've been seeing, it's like they're using these A-frame prefab cabins, and they're putting them in almost like a semicircle around either like a small water feature, like a man-made pond, or a campfire sort of place. It's almost becomes like it's like a mini commune. You can rent it out with your buddies. You could, there are a lot of things you could do. That's fascinating to me. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest misconceptions. As we've talked about this, what I'm hearing from you is like, there's zoning. You got to think about getting the water out there, getting the electric out there. There's infrastructure that has to go around this, and connecting with someone like you, it sounds like it can really help somebody to get over that hump. But let's talk about that a little bit. What are some of the basic things that someone has to think about when they're buying a piece of land? This is totally foreign to me.
Right. Well, as you mentioned, people have a vision. And when I'm selling a piece of land, I'm trying to cater to that vision. So every area has its own thing for it, and when you're kind of thinking about what you want, the construction, is it going to be an off-grid cabin, or is it going to be a luxury custom home? Is it going to be a place where I just go hunt and I don't need utilities at all, or fish or whatever it is, or just run my ATV out there, which is very popular, like in, the western part of the United States and the desert areas. So, the first thing you got to think about, in addition to your vision, be very clear about what your next step is, right? What are you trying to do after that? What's the next part of your vision? If it's a luxury home, you don't want an outhouse. So you have to figure out, is it a septic? Is it a well? Right?
Yep.
And, septic, well, is it public connection to sewer? Do you have public connection to water? Electricity, where's the nearest electric pole? And can you get that service in? Is internet important to you? I'm a guy who's been working kind of a nomadic lifestyle for the last 15, 20 years. Internet's very important to me, so being up in the middle of the woods to work and not being able to get connected to something is terrible for me. Especially if there's no 5G, even that. So that's the kind of thing you need to think about, and if you're also looking in the property and you're thinking, wow, I got 10 acres here. I really want to subdivide that down and I'm going to cut it into 4 different pieces, 2.5 acres each and stuff like that. You still have to look into zoning and seeing what's their minimum acreage, because it might only be 5. So a lot of people will sometimes buy a 10 acre, cut it down into 2, sell off the other and keep the other one for themselves. Right. Sure. So then they can say, well, this helped me pay for some of the things I'm going to do. But that would be looking into your zoning. So to recap, in addition to your vision, you really want to know what's important to you. Is it public water versus needing to dig a well? Is it you're going to have a perk or some type of test before you can verify if you can have septic? And if you can't, then that property is going to be very hard for you to put a house on. Then if you want to live a more easier life, have some type of public sewer connection. And then finally, just electricity.
Oh, sorry.
Can you get something there? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I may have skipped over this. So explain to me exactly, you're an expert. You're doing this every day. Yeah. What is it that you do to help people to figure out these challenges when they buy or sell land?
So when they're looking and they're approaching me for land, I usually have all this stuff already mapped out on my website. It says what it is, what it's supposed to do. Now,
and say the website.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's americaacres.com.
Awesome. americaacres.com. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So they go there. I have that all listed out. So if it's going to be septic, if it's going to be this. Now, I don't put everything on there, who they can connect with and stuff and how much it's going to cost, because that's a legal liability. And also then people will sometimes then be like, oh, well, it said $1,500 on here to connect to the water, but it's actually this, because with those local connections, you need to hire contractors and stuff like that. So what we do is we first put all the information on there. When someone approaches me and they say, look, we're really interested in this property, but I really need to find out more about the septic system or how much does it cost to connect to the public water? Because again, this is vacant property, meaning that there is a sewer pipe, there's water at the street, maybe for this property, but it's not just, you can't just put your property on there and be like, I have water. Someone has to you have to subcontract a contractor to get out there, dig that hole, so then the city, county, or local township can come out and then connect it for you. Yeah. So, at that when we get that far, I say, hey, I can go and give you some recommendations of the area, that I know. I always recommend people to also get 3 or 4 more quotes and not just use me. I have no skin in the game because I'm also not a contractor. I just say, hey, I worked with these guys before, or I've gotten quotes from these guys before. I always suggest go and get 4 more, do your homework, have a conversation. Do you get along with them well? Stuff like that. So that's usually how we help them after that. Now, get them through title, and we go through all that process. And usually after that, they're happy campers afterwards.
And how much do you typically charge for that?
I charge nothing. It's just a part of the work.
So is it that you're sitting there as the landowner typically?
Oh, I own all my land. I'm an investor.
Okay, so you're an investor, and through your website, you're selling this land out to whoever, whether it's a consumer that wants to build their dream home, or it's someone that is an investor trying to do mobile home parks.
Okay, exactly. Or commercial or home builders. or,
Yep.
like construction people, contractors. Yep. Anyone. So
Awesome.
my position is I've done all the, when I buy these properties, I have a vision of what another person's vision should be. Right.
Yes.
And that doesn't, I'm not putting words in their mouth, but when I look at something, I go, I really see this as an ATV getaway. They may never put a house on it, and all they're going to do is just going to go out to this property here. They're going to camp. They're going to throw up some tents and their trucks, and they're going to ATVing around. That's it. So I calculate what that, how much I can buy it for and what that cost is going to, for me to sell it, So, a property like that, I would only sell for under 10 grand because depending on how large the plot is, of course. But to give you an example, I say 10 grand because they're never going to put a house on it. It's kind of an expenditure, which is kind of, an add-on to their life, so it has to be low enough for them to move in. So I do all the due diligence before I buy properties with, they have clean deeds, they've gone through title. I get all the specifications, the zoning, what is septic available or not, water, where's the closest electric pole, the corners. I even do video of all the property myself. So before they even buy, they can just get on a video and look at it and with a drone shot and everything. So that just all is done as a part of my company culture, that just happens. So when it gets to them and they see a property for $10,000, it's just $10,000. Or in addition, if they're going to go through title, then there's title fees and stuff, everything else like that,
Got it. No, that's helpful.
But
so
we also offer finance as well. I'm sorry.
Oh, amazing.
So
okay.
Yeah. So do that as well. Yep.
So, I want to buy a piece of land that you have, whether I'm a consumer or I'm doing it for commercial reasons, you offer financing.
Yes.
And how does that financing compare to, right now we're seeing all this crazy news around very high interest rates. I assume that we have some of the same issues getting a loan for land, but how does that compare with buying a simple home? How is it different? How is it the same?
Let's see. Well, usually buying a home, you're going to go through some type of bank, right? My properties, for the most part, are about under $40,000.
Okay.
I don't have a lot that are above that. In fact, I have none that are above that at the moment. So, I'm doing something called owner carry. So I self-finance the property. And there's two ways to do it. One is, I self-carry, meaning that I carry the loan itself. So I'm putting, you're going to give me, it's a $10,000 property. You give me $2,000. We're going to finance the $8,000. And I usually have a maximum of 48 months. Right. And the interest rate, that can vary. I always tell people, if you can get a loan from the bank, you're going to do better off than working with me over 4 years, right? Because I'm self-carrying. But I do offer also at the same time, if they want to pay it off in 12 months, I do it as a same as cash.
Okay. So there's no prepayment penalty.
No, none whatsoever. So I usually I'll do those type of things. So there's some customers who go, look, I just don't want to shell 10 grand. And I go, hey, no problem. We'll do 12 months, same as cash. And then at the end, you'll get your title insurance and everything. And so like the last payment, we'll put it in the escrow and we can put it through title. Because a lot of the properties that I buy usually are people looking to do something with it. So title insurance is very important for that, where if you're just looking into desert squares, a lot of people go, I don't need title. I'm just going to be just driving over it and stuff like that. So, that's just the additional fee at the end to make sure that, they pay for the escrow and the title insurance. And then, we're all done. So that would only be the additional fee on the 12 months, same as cash kind of financing that we offer. And then, like I said, then there's other plans who go, I need something that needs to be a little bit longer, 24 months, 36, 48. I go, great. And I can kind of plot them out, all the different options. It's a conversation. We don't really have, dead set numbers where it's just this. If someone is like, look, I need to work, I can only put in $1,000 and I want it out for 48 months. And I go, okay, you can do that. And if you get more money, we always encourage you to pay as much as you can. If you get a whole lump sum of money, actually that just happened with a client with mine just about 2 days ago. She just went and paid off her one property. She's financing 3 properties with me. She's like, look, I want to get a trailer on this one. I just want to pay it all off. So we just went through the escrow and title, and she's got a title for that place, and she just decided to pay it all off.
Amazing. So this is so different from what we usually deal with. On real estate, it's almost, I would say, 90% of the time it's people buying and selling a home, whether it's a big home or a small home. So they're getting a traditional 30-year mortgage often, or maybe it's something with an ARM, maybe 10% of the time. But what you're talking about is very different. I mean, 48 months or even paying it down in a year. It's really interesting. What is the biggest misconception about buying and selling land?
I think the biggest misconception about buying land and selling it is, I think the expectation about what it's worth, and 2, about what you could do with it. So, for one man or woman, the property is useless. And for another person, it is very useful to them. So it's really in the eye of the beholder and how you encapsulate it. And, I use your website to sell all my properties. And when I do that, or at least where you guys cover. And, the biggest thing is taking great pictures and creating that vision and stuff like that. And like 9 times out of 10, the agents that work for large companies and stuff like that, the housing real estate areas and the big names as they were, just maybe put up a Google satellite image, or, they might be driving by at 40 miles an hour going click, 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 and be like, and
they don't want to give it the care, because it's just, they think of it like, oh, this is just land. I'm not going to, take any time on this.
Well, yeah. Also because their motivation is 3% on one side,
right?
And if or they can capture the 6% on both sides if they get both, right? So their motivation on a $40,000 property is just like, ugh,
right?
I don't want it. So when you put that care in it, the motivation changes for a lot of people. They go, oh, they can start a vision. I think that's the biggest misconception, is a lot of people get on and they get on to a website and they look at all the land and just go, I don't know what I would want it for,
Yeah. It's actually a really good point. I find that, first of all, not everybody has the type of imagination where they can look at kind of a square on a map, even if it's, the Google Maps, and they can start to imagine all these different things. So unless you have that in mind, or if somebody can really set it up the right way, it's difficult to get there. So I find that interesting. I find that in all sort of online real estate, what we found is that pictures matter a lot more than people think they do.
And video.
And video. Yeah. So we've been seeing a lot of video recently, 3D, using, so much tech out here now for 3D tours and things like that. And we always try to, encourage people, like, spend the extra, like, cause we offer the service too. It's like, spend the extra $250 or $300 and get some really good photos done. Trust me, it more than pays for itself. Because that everybody's looking at all the stuff on their phone or on their screen.
Absolutely.
And it helps you to really imagine it better when it's laid out for you in a beautiful way. So it's funny. That's funny you say it that way. Okay, so let's see. I want to see if I had any more questions for you. Okay, so you already talked about it. You talked about how you've used us. So maybe we can get into that more. Like, it sounds like a big part, since you've used this for so many of your sales, a big part of what you're doing is selling without a traditional real estate. We're obviously a brokerage, but we don't charge this, those fees. Can you tell me more about that? Like selling land using an automated system like us, where you save you save on the commissions.
Well, it's kind of just not only the commissions, but it's the control that your company gives me. Where I can, or my team can, upload the correct type of descriptions. They can get in the back end themselves, and also changing and updating the product in real time is also a big thing for me. And again, yes, a flat fee. It's just like, you put the money down, you pay for the services that you need or you don't need, or rather, you just pay for the services you need, rather, and you're good to go. And so that gives you a lot of control, and also the motivation of getting someone to sell it for you is really in your hands. You're not just putting it in some real estate person's hands and saying, well, I did my part. And I kind of mentioned back to the earlier, especially from my property, being under the $100,000. And so it is like that. Gosh, I don't even know if you could find a house for $100,000 under $100,000 now. But
nowadays it's getting tough.
Yeah. But the point being is that, a real estate agent has a little motivation or to go the extra mile. For that, for that 3%, as it were. So, right. This is a great thing for me because, I have the most control over my product. I have a very transparent fee, and if I need the extra help, you're there, as you mentioned.
Awesome. No, that's great. All right. So to recap, it sounds like, buying land has some real sort of peculiarities that are different from buying a traditional home. Number one, you've got to really think through all of the sort of stuff we take for granted, the water, the sewer, the electricity, and connecting with someone like you who's selling this and can help you through that process can really make a difference. The other thing I'm hearing is that it's an interesting space where, because the property requires some imagination, and also it's not priced so high, real estate agents aren't necessarily incentivized the same way to spend the amount of time needed to sell that property. And so to recap, perhaps I didn't realize this until today, but it sounds like you're a particularly great fit for flat fee and selling a home without that sort of traditional service. And so, all right, so those are takeaways. I really think now is the time. First of all, thank you for visiting with us today.
My pleasure,
I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
And we can do this again. I feel like we're gonna get a lot more questions, and so I would love to have you on again.
I would love to.
Awesome. I personally learned a lot, and I hope that our listeners did as well. So thank you. You'll be getting a gift in the mail for being on. So look out for that.
Nice.
And now we're gonna do the sneaker check. I'll go first. This is my favorite part of the show. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go first, and then it'll be your turn. So today, I am in the Adidas T-Rex. Do you not see him? Okay, hold on. Let me give you a good view.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. All black. It's black.
Black hiker. We mentioned Wyoming earlier in this podcast. I got these for a hike I did in Jackson Hole in the Tetons.
Nice.
It was unbelievable, and after 20 miles, my feet didn't feel like they were going to fall off. So I know that these are some dope hikers. Also, nice. It's the weather in Chicago today is awful. So these are usually what I wear when it's like raining. They're Gore-Tex, they're waterproof, and they're comfortable.
Yeah, so they're an all around shoe.
All around. I don't have to wreck a pair of my favorite sneakers forever. These are the all weather joints. All right, so What you got?
All right, I've already taken them off, but these are my mid Converse's cream and maroon backs.
I'm feeling those. Okay, they look like so those look like a Chuck Taylor, but they're not a Chuck Taylor. Is that correct?
No, they're called mids. So they have more cushioning on the top and everything else like that. And because I have another pair of just regular Chuck Taylors that I got when I was living in Hong Kong. They're like beautiful, different colored nylon with a zipper up the back. They're just useless.
Because they're not that comfortable.
No, man, you're going to wear them one night out at the bar or wherever you're going. Yeah. And I was like, oh, those are cool. And you're like, I can't take them off.
Yeah, I hate that's the thing with the ones like that. They look cool. You're like, oh, I got these in Hong Kong. You can't even get these here. And then you walk home, your feet are bleeding. It's like, it's no good.
They're terrible. But these are my going out, my city shoes, nice and clean. I wear, if I'm going to wear some like nice dark jeans, nice navy blue jeans, and these are real nice and tight, and I clean them obsessively. And then I have I have my dirty Chucks that I can just wear around. I don't care if they get dirty.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. And so, last thing, let's plug the website, man. Where can people find you? Where's the best place to reach you when people want to buy land?
Sure. I'm at the three W's, of course, and americaacres.com. And all my information's on there. And my email's sales@americaacres.com. Yeah, so all my stuff is on there. I got property that's on there. And even if you just want to just talk shop, I'm happy to do that too.
Awesome. I'm going to take you up on that because I have some ideas
Great.
that I want to run past you. Thank you for joining the show, and we'll chat soon.
You got it. It was nice talking to you.